welcome. Come on in. I'm just getting things set up for the Christmas Eve dinner, and Naomi and Joel are going to be doing some music up in the piano room. So why don't you head up there and you can listen to them, and I'm going to continue to set up for dinner.
Can't wait for our Christmas Eve dinner this year. I know Mom worked so hard on it. It'll be delicious.
Hey everybody, traditional meal, Christmas Eve, let's go.
Coming! Oh, Mom. I said I want the big kid meal this year.
Well, okay, we got the dinner.
This is Dad's.
Okay,
Is that my board
it's yours.
Excellent.
So, on Christmas Eve, we used to go from one church to another church service, and on Christmas Eve, the only restaurant that was ever open was the drive-thru at McDonald's. So we would go to church from 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock, and then we would go to the drive-thru at McDonald's, and then after that, we would go to Darrow's church, where he was the minister, and we would eat at the boardroom, and we would have our traditional Christmas Eve meal. And then we would go to church from 7 till 8. After that, we would then have a little bit of a break, and then we'd go back to church again. So we always had 3 Christmas Eve services to attend. This is a very different Christmas Eve. Hopefully, you're having good food wherever you are.
Something that our family always used to do, especially when Joel and I were little, were called family big reads. And so we would all get into our jammies, and we'd get all cozy, and we'd get into Mom and Dad's bed, and they would read us a story. And we read a lot of books. I remember we used to read a ton of Geronimo Stilton. But one thing that we always did around Christmas time was read a book called The Best Christmas Pageant Ever. And so we have a storybook version, although there is a chapter book version if you'd like to read that one. But I thought I would read our favorite Christmas story for you today. It's called The Best Christmas Pageant Ever, and it's by Barbara Robinson. The Herdmans were the worst kids in the history of the world. They lied and stole and played with matches. They were so awful, you could hardly believe they were real. There were 6 of them: Ralph, Imogene, Leroy, Claude, Ollie, and Gladys. They were skinny and stringy-haired and dirty and all different sizes, with all different black and blue places where they had clonked each other. They lived over a garage, and when they didn't have anything else to do, they would bang the garage door up and down and try and squash each other. Or the mailman. Or their crazy one-eyed cat. Everybody stayed away from them. Then one day, they showed up in Sunday school. They stole all the money out of the collection plate and drew mustaches on everybody in the Bible. And, though nobody really knows how, they took over our annual Christmas pageant. Our Christmas pageant is always the same. Kids in bathrobes and bed sheets acting out the story of Mary, Joseph, and the baby Jesus. Everybody knows the story. Everybody, but the Herdmans. That didn't stop them from picking out all the best parts for themselves. "I'll be the Mary," Imogene yelled, "and Ralph, he'll be the Joseph." Everyone else was afraid to volunteer. That left 3 herdmans, Leroy, Claude, and Ollie, to be the wise men, and the worst herdman of them all to be the angel of the Lord. "Me!" Gladys hollered. "I'll be the, what is it?" So then someone had to read the whole story to them about the star and the shepherds and how there was no room at the inn and how the baby Jesus slept in a manger. The herdmans were shocked. "They stuck them out in the barn," Imogene yelled, "and they tied Jesus up in rags and put him in a feed box? At least we put Gladys in a bureau drawer." Then they heard about the wise men bringing gifts of oil and frankincense. Claude said, "What good is smelly oil? If we're the wise men, let's bring pizza." Every year, someone lent us their baby to be Jesus. Not this year. Nobody would trust a herdman with their baby, so Imogene offered to steal one from the supermarket. "There's always babies in carts there," she said. Let's just forget about the baby," someone replied. "We used a doll instead." Every rehearsal was an adventure. Leroy wanted to chase the mean and keep her out of town, and Claude and Ollie wanted to run off with the baby to try and keep him safe. Imogene said she wouldn't name him Jesus. She would name him Bill, and he wouldn't let the wise men worship him. "Get away from that baby," she barked at them. "You might have germs." When Gladys found out the angel of the Lord appeared out of nowhere in the black of night, she was sure it was out of Amazing Comics. "Shazam!" she yelled, smacking the kid next to her. Gladys liked to smack things. Our Mary was loud and bossy, and the wise men were sneaky, and the angel of the Lord came from outer space. This was going to be the worst Christmas pageant ever. Some people wanted to cancel the whole thing. The minister said, I don't think anyone will come to see this. But they were all wrong. Everybody came, just to see what the Herdmans would do. When the curtain opened, Ralph and Imogene stood in the wings, frozen, as if they weren't sure what to do. They weren't pushing or hitting or being herdmans. The chorus waited and hummed and waited like an old refrigerator. When they finally came in, Imogene had slung the baby Jesus doll over her shoulder. Then she thumped it on its back twice, hard. There was a gasp. It didn't seem right to burp the baby Jesus. But that was the whole point of Jesus. He was a real person, and he started out as a real baby. His parents were real too. As real as Imogene with her veil all crooked and Ralph with his hair sticking out, as if they'd slept in their clothes out in the barn, just like in the real story. Then Gladys came from behind the shepherds, shoving them out of the way and stepping on everyone's feet. "Hey!" she yelled. "Unto you a child is born! He's in the barn!" She made it sound like it was the best news in the world. Right behind Gladys came the wise men, but they didn't have the usual frankincense and gold and oil. And they didn't have a pizza either. Instead, Leroy was carrying something big and heavy. It was the ham from the herdman's food basket. The church gave them one every year. The herdmans had never been given anything away except for clonks on the head, so you had to be pretty impressed. The herdmans wanted to give baby Jesus their Christmas ham. Then the wise men were supposed to leave and go home, but instead, they just sat down. Actually, it seemed like the right thing to do. After all, they'd come a long way, and you wouldn't expect them to just hand over the ham and leave. It seemed natural, too, to burp a baby who might be fussy or tired, and for someone to tell people where the baby was so they wouldn't have to wander all over the place. Somehow, every single wrong thing the herdmans did seemed so right and so natural. And then, as everyone sang Silent Night, Imogene started to cry. In the candlelight, her face was shiny with tears, awful old Imogene in her crookedy veil, crying as if Christmas had just come to her all at once. When everyone left the church that night, it was cold and clear with crunchy snow underfoot and bright, bright stars in the sky. Everyone said there was something different this time, something special. And although nobody could say exactly what it was, everyone agreed. It was the best Christmas pageant ever. So this was a year where they had a Christmas pageant that was very different. And our Christmas looks a little bit different this year too. But there's no reason that it can't be the best Christmas ever. So during the summer, we did Shoebox Sunday School. And one of the songs that we sang during that time was Peace Like a River. And so I thought we would try it again, but this time for Christmas. And Joel's going to help me out. I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river. different and it's special just for Christmas. You'll pick it up quick though. Give us peace this Christmas, give us joy this Christmas, give us love this Christmas, oh my soul. Give us peace this Christmas, give us joy this Christmas, give us love this Christmas, oh my soul.
On Christmas morning, we get up, already dressed in our Christmas PJs, we come downstairs, we open our stockings to see what treasures we've received. Then we have breakfast. After breakfast, before we even think about opening gifts, one of us will read the story from Luke 2 about Jesus being born. We've read different translations over the years. We all take turns doing the reading. This will be the first year that I've read using my iPad. Also the first year that I've read from the Inclusive Bible, which is a new book produced by Priests for Equality. This is the story in Luke 2. In those days, Caesar Augustus published a decree ordering a census of the whole Roman world. This first census took place while Quirinius was governor of Syria. All the people were instructed to go back to the towns of their birth to register. And so Joseph went from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to the city of David, Bethlehem in Judea, because Joseph was of the house and lineage of David. He went to register with Mary, his espoused wife, who was pregnant. While they were there, the time came for her delivery. She gave birth to her firstborn, a son. She put him in a simple cloth wrapped like a receiving blanket and laid him in a feeding trough for cattle, because there was no room for them at the inn. There were shepherds in the area living in the fields and keeping night watch by turns over their flock. The angel of God appeared to them, and the glory of God shone around them. They were very much afraid. The angel said to them, "You have nothing to fear. I come to proclaim good news to you, news of a great joy to be shared by the whole people. Today in David's city, a Savior, the Messiah, has been born to you. Let this be a sign to you. You'll find an infant wrapped in a simple cloth, lying in a manger." Suddenly there was a multitude of the heavenly hosts with the angel, praising God and saying, "Glory to God in high heaven, and on earth peace to those on whom God's favor rests." When the angels had returned to heaven, the shepherds said to one another, "Let's go straight to Bethlehem and see this event that God has made known to us." They hurried and found Mary and Joseph and the baby lying in the manger. Once they saw this, they reported what they had been told concerning the child. All who heard about it were astonished at the report given by the shepherds. Mary treasured all these things and reflected on them in her heart. The shepherds went away glorifying and praising God for all they'd heard and seen, just as they'd been told. So we've heard that story over and over again through the years. At different years, different times, different parts of the story have stood up for me. This year, a part that really stands out is when the angels say to the shepherds, "Don't be afraid. You have nothing to fear." In this weird year, where so many things have been happening that we don't like, that we don't really understand, and we kind of wish would go away, the angel's message, "Do not be afraid," seems even more important to hear. From our house to yours, God bless you.
Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright, round yon virgin mother and child, holy infant, so tender and mild, sleep in heavenly peace, sleep